Hey, if you have a TTR230 that is hard to start, especially when cold, maybe it takes a long time to warm up, it bogs at low throttle opening, so it's just not very smooth, and it backfires when decelerating. This is likely because the fuel screw circuit is not properly adjusted. But the problem is that the fuel screw on this stock carb has a plug in it, so you can't adjust it unless you remove that plug. So I'm going to show you how to remove that plug and then how to adjust it so you can get a great starting, smooth running, crisp throttle response TTR230. I'm not sure how much I need to take off, so I'm just going to start with the seat. A couple of 10mm bolts. It's nice to have a little magnetic dish to put all your bolts in. Then you can take off the strap for the tank. You can loosen up these carb clamps with a Phillips screwdriver that the carb can rotate or be removed, and pull off this fuel line. Sometimes the fuel lines can be stiff if they've been on there for a while, so you might just need to grab pliers and gently rotate it, and that'll kind of work it loose so you can pull it off easily. That's loose. Now we just need to get the gas tank off with these two 10mm bolts. And you could access this with an impact if you pull the radiator shrouds off, but I don't feel like taking the radiator shrouds off. Although I guess they aren't technically radiator shrouds because there's no radiator. There's that. And we just got this side. We got that bolt out. I should be able to take the gas tank off. Make sure you take the vent line out. And there we go. Now it's easier to access the carb, and the fuel screw should be right under here. Or if you're on this side, it should be right here. So I'm not sure if we can rotate this to access it, and we're going to have to take off the throttle cables here. So I'll loosen up the throttle cable, 10mm wrench, the throttle cable, the pull and push cable. These mosquitoes are bad out here. Alright, got that one off. Just need to pull that. There we go. It looks like these overflow hoses are in here and getting caught when I'm trying to rotate it, so I'm going to pull these out. Got that cable off. There we go. Doesn't look like I'll be able to rotate it enough to drill it out while it's on the bike, so I'm probably going to have to take the carb off. Pull this boot off there and kind of gently yank it out. There we go. A little bit of a tight fit. At least it's not aluminum frame. Getting caught here. Oh, push it down. There we go. Got it. Alright, so you can see here's where the fuel screw is. Ah! I'm getting some gas on me. Can't multitask. Alright, yeah, so here's where the fuel screw is, that brass plug that needs to be drilled out. You can either use a regular drill bit, which is what I'm going to do, or you can use a self-tapping screw, whatever is easiest for you. So now I got it here in a little vise. Don't clamp it too tight. Use soft jaws if you have them. I'm just using a rag and just very loosely tight in there, just enough so it won't move. Then here I got a 1/16 drill bit, and we'll just gently start drilling in here. There's already a center drill hole there, so it should be pretty easy to drill through. I like to check it every few seconds. Oh, already made it through. See, that did not take much effort, because once you poke through, that's why you don't want to put too much pressure, because once you poke through, then you're going to be hitting that fuel screw, and you don't want to damage that. So now you can go to a self-tapping screw, or just go up a couple sizes on the drill. And that got through pretty quickly, especially when you have a sharp drill. Go up a couple more sizes. Again, carefully, we'll turn it down to 1 speed. There we go. That's why you got to be careful. There's the plug right there. Now you can get some compressed air and just lightly blow it out. Make sure none of those brass shavings got stuck in there. Alright, and now you can see the fuel screw right there. That's the flat blade screw that meters the fuel for the pilot jet circuit. And this is so important because it controls 0 to quarter turn throttle response. So That's why it's important for starting and for low RPM, low throttle opening, which is probably the majority of what you'll be doing for trail riding. So find a flat blade screwdriver that's going to fit properly, because if it's too small or too big, it's going to damage the brass and it'll be hard to turn it in the future. So knowing where I am right now, I'm going to turn it in to find out where the setting is at. So I'll go half turn. What? Oh man, that was only 3/4 of a turn out, which is okay if it's jetted properly, but ideally you'd like to be in the 1 to 2 full turns out. That way you have a little bit of adjustment, richer or leaner. So this is all the way in. We're going to go to half, 1, 1.5. Opening it up, what I just did there allows more fuel in, which will make it richer, and it should start easier, warm up faster, and have better throttle response. And if it's still too lean, then we can turn it out another quarter or half a turn to make it even richer. But now we can do it while it's on the bike, because we can access that plug. We can have I have a little tool to do it without needing a long screwdriver that won't fit under there. All right, now it's time to put it back on. So just make sure the intake manifold and boot are clean, because we don't want dirt getting sucked into the engine. We'll put it back on the opposite way of how we took it off. Put it in the engine side first. I have to fold the intake boot. Oops. This is still a little bit tight, so we'll loosen the screw up. There we go, that's easier. So just loosen it up so it's easy to push on there. And we lost this clamp, so we gotta get this back on there. Loosen it all the way and wrap it back on there. Wrap it back on. Actually, we'll get it on the carb first. There we go. Make sure it's fully seated all the way around, otherwise you'll have an air leak, which will cause it to run lean again. Get this carb clamp back on, put it back in, line it up. All we need to do is get it started, and the rest is easy. Now we need to get the throttle cables back on here. So again, just do the same in reverse. There's one, just a little bit more. There, just needed more slack here. Get these back on here and get them properly adjusted for the proper amount of play. Overflow lines back down here. Tighten up the carb clamps. Might need to hold it up here so it doesn't push around on you, or even hold it right there. You know how tight to get these carb clamps? Well, just get them just snug, hand tight with your screwdriver. If you're starting to strip around the heads of the screw, that's too tight. Then we can go back to getting the proper tension. If you left this one alone, it still should be good. There should be just a little bit of wiggle here. Get that right amount of free play. This one you can just tighten up by finger. Yeah, just screw this until it gets tight and just snug. You don't want to overdo it, otherwise it'll strip out. So now these are nice and tug, ready to go. Give the throttle a twist, and we can put the gas tank back on. Make sure it's in the right spot so we can get these bolts back on. Then get these snug, not overly tight. You don't need to put all your weight into them. You can get the gas tank strap back on. Sometimes I leave all this stuff loose. Just get the gas tank and fuel line back on so I can just test the bike in case I need to take it all off again. Just saving time if I'm troubleshooting something, making a bunch of changes. But I know that I can change the fuel screw adjustment when everything is on the bike, so that's why I'm just putting everything back on. Wow, this is tight. There. Seat back on, line it up, get those bolts. I like to use my impact to get everything on quick, not too tight though, because I like to do the finishing torque just by hand so I don't over or under tighten it. And again, this doesn't need to be super tight because it's squishing against the side panel plastic and it's just holding the seat on. Ah yes, and don't forget to put your fuel line back on. And that little clamp there, you can do by hand or pliers if it's tight. Then you can turn the gas back on, make sure there's no leaks. Then it's time to start it up. And when you're making jetting changes, make sure that the engine is fully warmed up before you make a change, because a cold engine, the air fuel mixture ratio is not consistent because all the parts are still expanding, making it run differently. So always wait till the engine is fully warmed up before you can make a definitive and accurate jetting change or conclusion. All right, when the carb is empty and you turn the gas on, you got to give it a minute for it to fill back up, or you can help aid it by blowing in this gas tank breather hose. That can also help if it's been vapor locked for some reason and gas isn't getting to the carb even though there's no obstruction. That's a good habit when you're working on carbs and you're draining it and refilling it back up to troubleshoot something. All right, power on, turn the choke on. All right, for the moment of truth, and fire it up. So it already seems to be idling a little bit better. Still a little bit boggy, but it hasn't fully warmed up yet. All right, it's fully warmed up now, and it starts easy, and there's good throttle response. It's maybe a touch lean, but it's a lot better. It's not really boggy, and it backfires very little, which is fine on deceleration. Nice easy start. Yeah, it's still just a little bit of bog and hiccup and backfire, but it's a lot better, so I'm going to go maybe another quarter or half turn out on the fuel screw to make it richer. So if you want your dirt bike, whether it's a 4-stroke or 2-stroke, to start easily, have good, reliable, smooth throttle response, have good power, not overheat, there's just a lot of symptoms that can happen from rich or lean jetting, and it all starts with the fuel screw. And if you want a simple guide on how to properly tune your fuel screw in just a few minutes, I got a free guide in the description below. You can get that at motocrosshideout.com/fuel. Or if you already got it dialed in and you just want to become a better, safer, more confident trail rider, then you should check out this video here on how to do it without taking years to learn. I'm Kelly Fager, and I want you to be a safe, happy, confident trail rider so that you can enjoy it with your friends and family for many years to come. Ride safe, have fun.